Hello, my name's Tony Wrench and I live here in this roundhouse with Faith. We've lived here for 22 years. I suppose we came here with the idea of living simply on the land, and I had the opportunity of building something from scratch. So we spent about a year designing it, and we've got planning permission for it. That was a bit of a struggle that we could go into in time if we needed to, but I don't think we will. And I'll show you round. That's probably the best idea. We'll start with the fields and then come back to the house later on. Here we are in the meadow. As you can see, it's full of meadow sweet at the moment, and it's got other flowers that are dominant different times of the year. Ash tree here that we are letting get away, but otherwise a lot of the trees we tend to cut back, and the bramble, because Wales used to be full of fields like this, but they're actually quite rare now, and we've been advised ecologically to try and keep this an open space. The horses come in, but they tend to just eat the grass, but they do a good job with the grass. And as you can see, there's our windmill there as well, which catches the wind when it happens, mainly in the winter when we don't have much sun, so that's nice. See, these young trees we coppiced last year, and then the older trees are what we left 15 years ago. And so all this has grown up in 15 years, and then we've taken a whole lot of firewood off this for a couple of years. And it's not just firewood, it's also, I've made shingles from it, and also a few bowls. It makes very nice bowls. So this is our alder coppice. It's not actually our wood, but Emma says we can take what we like from here. This is a sort of no man's land, so we have the use of this, which is great. Okay, here we are in the raspberry patch. This is the autumn raspberry patch. So there's a few coming now. Where are we? July now. And so this will really kick in at about mid-August, and it'll go on till November. Oh, there's some more already, early ones. And I use these raspberries mainly for wine, actually, because it's a bit of a currency in this valley. I tend to go to any gathering and bring some raspberry wine, which is handy. But also we make jam from them, some juice, and of course in the winter when we cut down the stalks fresh for the new year, we get a whole lot of very inflammable stalks, because these, when they're dead, they're extremely burnable, so they're great kindling as well. So we have a big bundle each year of kindling. This hammock is a fishing net found in the rocks of La Hinch in Ireland, and we went there for one day, and they make very good hammocks. This is great. Force myself to relax sometimes. So here we are in the garden proper, if you can call it a proper garden. Yeah, we try and preserve wildlife and stuff wherever possible, so you won't see a lot of bare earth. Here's the red currants that we've just finished. We've got about 3 banks of red currants, and black currants over there. Josterberry there. There's the bottom of the enormous raspberry bed. Hazel here. Apple tree here. Josterberry. Black currant that we've had about 6, 10, 12 jars of black currant this year, jam. Then here's a grapevine. This one is, what's this? Black Hamburg. And as you can see, if you have a look here, look. We had some frost about May, which was very disappointing, so that they're very slow in developing, but they're coming. This is flowering right now in July, so it's a bit late actually. But this produces a reasonable amount, a bit more each year. And here I'm growing something called Romeo Regent, which is a type of Suffolk grape. I have to encourage him to come round, try and encourage him to hold on to all these wires, and so it's a bit windier here than Suffolk, I think. So we try and encourage them to hold on. And this is about year 3 for these that were cuttings. And this end, he's on year 4. So, but for the frost, I think he would have been producing, this guy. And you had to talk to them a bit, you know. And so what will I do with this? I'm not sure. I might try and encourage him to run all the way along the top, like a cat would. Bonjour. So here we are in the garden with Faith. Behind me is our solar panel. So this is a 500 watt panel. It's not very much these days, but actually for us it's fine because we do without most things actually. It's good for charging electric bike and laptop, stuff like that. But anyway, here we are in the garden. Faithy, what do you want to tell us about? What's this?
Well, I'm glad that this year I couldn't bear to just abandon any of my pumpkin seedlings or squashes, whichever you want to call them. They're the, you know, the savoury type squashes, because the potatoes weren't that good this year with all the frosts and everything. I haven't got nearly such a good potato crop, but we'll have lots of pumpkins, I hope.
It's not looking too bad behind you, the potato crop, actually.
No, they're not looking too bad. That's true, but
so
yeah,
this is
and they're main crop ones. But
this is the pumpkins and squashes. What's this?
That's red sage.
Yeah. What's that?
Those are flowers. That's columbine. Do you mean columbine? No, aquilegia. Okay.
So
equally with leeks, I'm the kind of person I can't bear to abandon any of the seedlings. So then obviously you plant more seeds than you're going to need, and then so I've got leeks popping out everywhere that I've stuck in.
So you put them in spaces around here. These are leeks in spaces. Yeah. So what's your sort of principle of doing things? You don't dig very much, do you?
No, not really. You know, if I'm taking out weeds, I kind of put the fork in and sort of loosen it and then pull the weed out, you know, like if I'm doing it, you know, like when you're starting a bed off in the spring.
So how do you feed the plants?
Well, with my own compost, obviously, that I make with a mix of house compost.
Do you want to show us?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go and have a look.
Things up there.
Some people, they're in the city, right? Some people just don't know about using compost.
Right. Okay, so
Wait a minute.
as you can see, there's a lot of horse poo on the top, and there's other layers of horse poo, and in between there is the weeds, the ones that are okay to put in there. I don't put nettles in, or dock or stuff like that. I do them separately, like on here, just dry them off till they're completely dead. And then there's the house waste, you know, kitchen waste, like that. That's the one that I'm taking from. So that's what it looks like, rotted down. Nice and black, should be. And that could have gone on a bit longer, but I needed it, so I started already. It all compacts down a lot, you know, you can fill it up with weeds and then in a week it's all gone down.
That's bracken on top, isn't it?
That's bracken, yeah, that bracken is great.
So what do you use bracken for?
It's good in the compost because it brings air, but it needs to be dead. You mustn't put a green bracken into compost because there's some toxin in it. It evaporates or something. So I cut lots, like now, when it's nice and tall, cut it and leave it in piles, and then when it's gone nice and brown and crunchy, I use it for a mulch to cover beds that aren't being used, so they're not exposed to too much sunlight. And like this. This is actually the stuff that was last year's that was on beds, but has been taken off for things to be planted, and there's quite a lot in that.
Is this anything to do with anything?
That's a sweet Sicily. The idea being sometimes the compost can be a little bit smelly, so I try to grow nice things by it.
Okay, right.
I've got a lavender there, but...
do you use anything else for
I forgot to mention seaweed, which I collect from the beach down the road. Take sacks.
After storms?
Big sacks, yeah, after storms, after full moon, you know, high tides, in the wintry months, not the summer.
Yeah. But that
is a very important source as well, because I don't have any other manure apart from our... Oh, I do use also from our compost toilet, so that's 2 kinds of poo, manure, human manure and horse, but I don't have goat or cow like lots of people around here do.
Right. The good thing about seaweed also is that it grows quite strongly near the shore, because you get a lot of off-run from farms and stuff like that, and from gardens, and it's full of minerals that are taken from the soil when it rains, and then if you gather that seaweed and put it back on the soil, you've got a nice circle going. So we've got an interesting system here. Faith is custodian or guardian of the ground floor, and I'm custodian of the upper story.
And guess which one gets more light?
So do you want to say about your story first then?
Okay, so there's some tomatoes in here, but they're not really. I've had about 2 red ones so far. Everything's taking a while to get red, the tomatoes this year. Have had some in the other tomato place in the porch. Here's cucumbers. Had quite a lot of cucumbers. They're delicious and sweet and nice. I'm very pleased with those.
What are these?
Haven't had that much sun. That's a wild, sort of wild strawberry. They're a special one that are white. They never go red, but they taste just as sweet. They go ripe, but they look white. And the great thing is the birds don't recognise them as fruit, so they get left. Not that we have that many birds in here. This is ochre. It's a root crop which you can grate into salad, or you can cook.
Okay, so here on the grapes, this grape we're looking at now is a Tuscan white grape called Fragola, I think, Uva Fragola. And this has its roots way down in that corner over there, and it comes all the way about 40 feet, I don't know how many inches that is, maybe 12 metres or so long this is now, and it fruits on every node, so it's very productive, and the fruit tastes of strawberries when it goes pink.
I didn't know it was called Fragola.
Yeah, Uva Fragola. And then this one is, you have to follow them back down to their source. Right, this is a Tuscan red, this one, that I took from a cutting in a broken down greenhouse in Leominster once. And I've sort of traced it back who it is. And there was another one there that I've taken out, and you saw him in the garden. So I'm trying him in the open air, because he's a bit enthusiastic indoors.
The old horses next door, who are very polite and only like grass, started coming through into our garden from the field, and instead of shooing them out, we've ended up really liking them coming, because they make a lovely sward on any bits that we count as sort of lawn, and even some of the paths, the ones that aren't too narrow, and they don't tread on the beds. They're just so good.
Baby.
Look at this. And Tern didn't have to use his scythe at all to make it like that. The horses did it, just coming. They come and munch around, and they strangely, they go on the shortest grass every single night when they come for their evening round. They just go for the short grass and just keep it short.
This houses and processes all the water from the 2 sinks and the bath indoors. And it's called something or other. What's this called? What's it called?
Soak away.
What?
Soak away?
No, it's not soak away.
Reed bed.
Reed bed, that's right. So this, this is one reed bed, and there's another reed bed, but you wouldn't know it, would you? Because this soaks it all up, actually. And it's about that deep, 1/2 metre deep. It's 1 metre wide, it's 2 metres long, it's puddled clay, and then in it was planted these iris and also bulrushes and reeds. But the iris has won, and it does a good job, so I haven't changed it. And we don't have any trouble with this. I just have to clean the outlet pipe about once a year, that's all. Completely maintenance free, doesn't smell. Great. Moving on around the house, this is just finished actually. This is a Loganberry, but these are just finished. We've had several jars of Loganberries bottled, but it's nearly finished. But it's enjoying being put against this southeast facing wall, and I'm going to do it more like this each year, because it wants, it's half bramble, you see. It wants to take over the world like bramble does. So you have to hold it back a bit. Any more vegetables here, Faithy, to look at?
Apart from potatoes.
What about these sweet peas? I think these are gorgeous.
Yeah.
These smell absolutely celestial. So beautiful.
And I found the way to have my chives and eat them, rather than them getting lost in the grass and things on the beds. So I've got a lot of chives in that bed there, and it's right by the kitchen door. It's great.
Okay, here we've got a wood treatment department. Let me show you this thing. This is great. I used to chop wood with an axe and stuff, but I hardly use an axe these days because of this thing. Look at this. It's the log splitter. Shall I show you a bit? Oh, look at this little frog, look. Can you see him? There's loads of little frogs this year. It's great. It's wonderful to see them, because some years you don't get any. And then we've made several little ponds around, including one where I took the clay from in the field. But they've really taken advantage of it, you see. Oh, he might be a toad actually. Look at the way he's crawling. Okay, so this thing, this is just such good fun. My brother gave me this for my birthday. He knows kind of what I'm like. Not many brothers will give you this for your birthday, would they? Okay, we are now ready to go. So you take a log. Oh, these are ash logs from a coppiced tree up there, or I should say pollarded actually. No, it won't quite go, so. But there's a sharp blade there. And there's a pushy thing here. I must improve my bust. I must. And then I keep cranking. There you go. It's already gone. And that's split. Look at that. Beautiful. It's a bit of a waste, isn't it, really? Beautiful wood, this ash. But hey, I use some of it. I use it for axe handles, and I made a whole lot of shingles with this stuff. I'll show you. Go around the back. This is the wood shed. So this has only been up about a month. So it's based on chunks of oak, and then this is using an old traditional way of making shingles. So it's a way of keeping the rain out without plastic, which isn't that easy actually. And it will be filled up, of course, with logs. Quick look at the back. In a perfect world we'd use oak, but it has to be very straight grained oak, and we don't have any of that, or cedar or chestnut, all very straight grained, but we didn't have any of that. But we've had some alder from the woods that you saw earlier on. These are alder, these reddish orangey ones, and the whiter ones are the ash from that tree there. And that really did a bit of muscle building for me. For about 2 months I've been on this while we've been locked down. So I learnt how to do it from YouTube. I'm quite pleased with this actually. Great. See how long it will last, because neither of these woods last that long, but they'll dry out quite quickly. So each shingle's about that long. It's about twice as long as you see. This one goes up up to there, and they're about ½ an inch thick, 1.4 centimetres something. Should last 20-30 years, I think, with luck. This is our wood stash. It's updated all the time, of course. These straps are so that the cat can sleep on the top without knocking it all over, which has happened, of course. It's mainly ash. If you know woods, you can probably tell what woods these are. That's alder, that's ash. This is a bit of thorn of some kind, that's hazel. These twigs are ash. Yeah. So they're all good burning woods. Yeah. Leave them like this for a year, if we can, and they'll be great firewood. Down past the loo now. Okay, this is the compost toilet. It's more or less the same condition as it was 20 years ago when I built it for £5. I think this is about the best value toilet I've ever experienced. It's from a CAT, C-A-T, that's a Centre for Alternative Technology. It's from one of their leaflets. And it's got 2 chambers. There's the chamber in use, but it's got a mobile seat, so I can take this seat off, and after a year I move it over onto here. And so this is actually full of composting poo, plus sawdust from my wood workshop, plus a bit of wood ash that we put in sometimes. That all rots down, so it's rotting down for a year. This is in use, so when that's full, we transfer it all over, we empty this out into sacks and put it under fruit trees or into the compost. And we get about 9 sacks of really good compost. Doesn't smell by then, it's just like earth, brown earth. We get about 9 sacks of that a year, and have done for 20 years. Which can't be bad, can it? And it's also nice to think of it as a circle, because these wood shavings are from my wood turning. So what do they look like? They go in top. So you do a poo and then you put about that much in. There's wood shavings, look. And that's alder and ash and various stuff like that, and sycamore. And so most of that is from the trees here. So there's another cycle going on, isn't there? And they help the new trees grow. Okay, now we'll go up to Faith's den. Okay, here's the den, which is Faith's rural bedsit. This was made as a course about 10 years ago. It doesn't have a skeleton. It's just cobwood supporting a reciprocal frame roof. Turf on top, as you can see. Insulation of straw and wool underneath a pond liner. We did it in about 3 weeks. There's a little stone wall of about 9 inches, and then all this wood with mud in between, straw right in the middle. Nice, isn't it? Go inside. Here we are inside, very simple. All these windows I got for free actually, put outside a glazier's shop. Let's see if we can see the walls a bit more. There we are. I made that round window. There's a nice stove there with an oven in it. That's made locally. Bed. Cobwood all the way round. No skeleton. On the floor, homemade rugs, and then wood that we had sawn up from a whole lot of waste wood we got hold of. Roundwood, larch, and then there's a floor space under here, so it's quite dry. The ceiling's 12 rafters, all joined together by a reciprocal frame that you may have heard of already, all resting on each other. On top of that, there's the skylight is 2 coach windows on top of each other with a rubber seal between, so it's slightly double glazed skylight too. Very easy to make these things once you know how. So the whole thing cost about £800, I think it was. So like for people in cities who pay like £400 to £800 a month, if you could get a bit of land and build one of these as a rural bedsit, you'd be a lot better off. There's quite a few of these roundabouts nowadays. They're usually straw bale, but next door Bridle have dozens of these. Well, not dozens, they have about 10 of them, maybe. Turf roofs. And you can take the eaves down with this style of building, you see, so you can... This is on the north side, so there's plenty of storage under here. Plenty of space for firewood, washing area, twigs. It's a good way of storing firewood in a circle, bit of space in the middle. Dries very quickly this way. So these are quite small branches from that have been sawn up, obviously, from a coppiced ash tree, and they'll be dry within 6 months if the weather stays quite good. Off on the path to my den, my workshop. Pretty rustic here, isn't it? And next door we have Bridle. So I'll see if I can get a shot of their spirit house. Here you go, here's Bridle's field next door. So this is our view. This is a Iron Age house really, but it's in the modern day. Thatched in the traditional fashion using local reeds. No metal in it or plastic. Nearly all wood and mud and reeds. They hold ceremonies in there, and we sing there every month. Okay, here's my den, my workshop, fairly new. A third of it is straw bale with plaster over the straw bales, obviously, as you can see. That's a lime plaster, final coat there. Windows are all second hand and recycled and just set into it. It's very easy to do. On the right there is a solar panel. That's just 250 watts, which does for anything I want to use in the workshop, which is small hand tools, charging and stuff like that, and also charging my electric bike. I'll just show you that. This is a little gadget I got from America recently. Very pleased with it. Means I can use that panel to charge batteries of my electric tricycle, which is here. or my electric bicycle, which is here. Here we are. Nice bit of kit. It's a cargo bike by Rad Wagon. It's called Rad Wagon. And I just put the connector in here and it charges up immediately. It's very easy. Here's around the back of the den. So that's the straw bales. They're resting on oak down here. There's a ring of oak along here. And then the whole thing is on a big, thick skeleton of larch and resting on oak logs set into the ground. Something you can, and here's my firewood stash for this den. Something you can do if you design your own house or your own workshop or something. See this window here? I can just open it, so then I can just take firewood here and chuck it in there without carrying it very far. Yeah, easy. Now this wall is the cobwood bit. So a third of the wall is cobwood, which I really like, don't you? Looks really funky. And it's made of logs of any diameter. You have tiny ones or really big ones. That's alder from our woods, so's that. This is all from our woods basically, where you saw earlier on. Quite heavy these. And they've been seasoned, most of them, for a couple of years before I used them. So I kept them outside just to get used to being outside, otherwise they split a lot. These aren't looking too bad, are they? And the mortar here is clay and sand and lime in various combinations with hemp in it, usually. I'm experimenting using hemp in various mixes because it's highly insulating. It's really cheap as well, around here anyway. Okay, here's my workshop den. In we go. As you can see, it's another reciprocal frame roof. A bit flatter this time because these are fairly small beams. I've tried to use everything from our own land here, also scrounged from various people. This wall, as you can see, is the back of the cobwood, so it's useful for screwing things onto and fixing things onto. Standard double bass. Boom. Boom. Now your turn. Hand tools mainly. There's a wacky Portuguese bark tool. There's a couple of Portuguese agricultural peasants' tools. It's good to be a peasant. We need more of them in this country. A couple of sickles. Makita cordless. That's all we use as chainsaws, just cordless, and it's very quiet and it's fantastically efficient. I've built everything with this. Hand saws. Do you ever use these? Double-handed saws. Great. Whoops. A few more hand tools. A couple of scythes. This little ones are most useful. Made in Russia, that is. Very sharp. And you have to keep it sharp all the time, and it's just as efficient as a strimmer and uses obviously no fossil fuels. Here's a few more hand tools. Nice axes there. I've gradually acquired these over the years. Nice adze, look at that, beautiful. There's a roofer's axe and hammer, 3 draw knives, a couple of pruning saws, nice guitar. This is a drill fitted up to the little battery down there, so you can get one of these and second hand or whatever, and you can just run it straight off a battery. There you are. Simon Crook told me this trick. Really useful. Here's a few of the plates I make. What do we got here? That's beech. That's beech. Look at that. That's nice, isn't it? I like these plates. The ceiling is a reciprocal frame of 12 rafters from wood from our woods, ash they all are, and they support slab wood. Now on top of that is about 10 duvet covers stuffed with raw wool and several wheelbarrowfuls of second-hand thick cork. Then on top of that, 1 pond liner and a sandwich of coach windows. So you've got a coach window, then pond liner, then another coach window on top. So that's quite an effective sandwich. On top of that, of course, it's turf, or more increasingly sedum. I've planted about 6 different sorts of sedum up there, because the turf is only quite thin, about an inch, and the sedum are doing very well on the roof. Then under the floor is wool. Here we are. So there's wool here. This is raw wool off the sheep, untreated or anything. People get very freaked out by using raw wool, but it's got its own lanolin in it. You don't see sheep running around covered in moths, do you? They can get covered in moths if you wash it first, so don't wash it. There we are. Okay, coming inside the house. Here's the porch. Getting to be time to pick these, I think. They're getting a bit squidgy. There's 1 or 2 not right, but generally speaking, we're in business. This is a black Hamburg grape, and I've got some Suffolk grapes over there that are still waiting to ripen. But generally we steam these grapes. We've got a steamer that makes sterilised juice that we can drink all through the year. I used to make a lot of wine. I don't make quite so much now because I've got more than I can drink now. It's nice for tomatoes. 1 or 2 ripening up now. Faith's got different sorts growing in here. You sort of collect different tomato seeds from different places. Okay, coming into the house. Can you see it okay? It's a bit difficult to show this in film because well, it's round. We're not used to looking at round spaces, are we? Here's the ceiling. So this is the first serious reciprocal frame I made, apart from a few experiments. This is using a lot of long trees because we took them from a plantation that had overgrown, really. So this is just the thinnings from a little bit of forest, about 1.5 acres, something like that, of forest. So it still continued after we'd thinned it. In fact, it did better. So we bought the forest, this 1.5 acres, and then sold it again for the same price. So all this wood was free, basically. It took me and Faith and a couple of woofers. It took us a whole winter to cut it all down, and then we transported it here. So down there we've got 2 sinks. It's always good to have 2 sinks. One for always washing up, and then the other one for other stuff. So I just walk there. Wine barrels there. The one on the left has still got about 10 gallons of blackberry, grape and elderberry. That'll be good. That's from 2 years ago. Okay, there's the sinks. Then around here we've got the bath. So we can have a bath of spring water. There's the hot tank there behind the clothes drying. The hot tank is fed from the stove here. Nice little stove, burns wood obviously. 2 homemade baskets, one with logs in and the other with straw in. Kindling from my various activities, including making shingles. And then the hot water tank. There is a barrel. Why a barrel, I hear you cry? Well, it's not particularly good insulation, no. But in the autumn and the spring, especially, when we want a bit of heating during the night, this gives off just enough hand warmth. See, it's warm, it's hand warm to the touch, blood temperature, really. So it gives off this as a very steady temperature, so it's a kind of radiator as well as a storage machine barrel. This thing here is electric, so there's an immersion heater in there. So any spare electricity we get from the electric system comes into here. Rather than overfilling the battery, there's a certain trigger and it comes into here instead to heat the water. Here's the pipe here coming from the back boiler there. So it comes into about half the way up the tank there. Here's our electric system. 4 giant batteries all linked together to give 1000 amp hours at 12 volts. Comes in from those big solar panels outside into those flashing light inverters. No, they're not inverters, they're controllers there. There's the inverter there, which converts 12 volts to 230 volts for anything that we need ordinary electricity for. In other words, 230 volt AC, such as, what have I got charging at the moment? I've got Faith's electric bike. That's just finished charging. There, that's showing yellow, so that's finished charging. There's for batteries for various power tools. And what else we got? The Wi-Fi and my iPad charging at the moment. Yeah, this thing is possibly the most useful bit of the kit. That 13.5 there shows how many volts we have at the moment, which is a lot, isn't it? So that is telling me, that red light is telling me that any surplus now coming in will be going into the hot water tank. And that green there says what's coming in from the wind. So there's nothing coming in at the moment, but in the winter we get a fair old whack coming in, which is useful, because if it's dark and you've got a storm going on, then you know you've got something coming in, and it makes you conscious of the elements the whole time. There are plenty more things we could talk about. There's permaculture, there's politics or lack of it, there's lots of things. But yeah, I think one thing that we've forgotten that if you live like this you definitely remember is that we are animals. This is our habitat, but it's not just our habitat. We've had moles, voles, mice, rats, a badger, bats try to get in here, apart from all the smaller things like the spiders that live up here, the insects. This is a habitat for thousands of creatures. That little frog you saw earlier, you know, they're always trying to come through the front door. And so it's great to feel one of many animals and to remind ourselves all the time that we are living natural beings. And I suppose that's what I want to end with, really, just to say, don't forget your animal nature. Okay, bye for now.